Hey guys, I'm the 50s kid. This is Project Black Savage behind me. It's a 2004 325 Ci. The paint is really bad on it. It's needed to be polished for a long time, so this is the video where I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna take you guys along, hopefully give you kind of a tutorial on polishing. It's not really that difficult, you know, it's not rocket surgery. There are a couple things to learn, but really, you know, once you kind of do it for the first time, you'll kind of pick up on it, you'll get it. Kind of all the mystery will be taken away. I'm not guaranteeing that this paint is gonna look perfect after I'm done with it, but it's gonna look a hell of a lot better than it does now. And this is definitely gonna highlight, you know, all the things, all the problems that really can't be fixed by just, you know, cutting compounds and polishing compounds. We might need to go a little bit further on some areas. We might need to hit that with maybe some 1500 grit sandpaper and then polish that up. But I really don't know what those areas are until I kind of give it the once over with some cutting compound and then see where we are from there. So that's where we are. That's what we're going to do in this video. So let's get started. Okay, so full disclosure, the last time I had polished anything before I started preparing for this video was like over 10 years ago. And back then, this was the type of polisher that I use. This is what the industry was using back then. Just a rotary polisher. All it does is spin around. So I don't even remember what cutting compounds or even what brand I used back then. It's been just so long. Anyway, there's been new developments in the polishing world since then. There is now a random orbit polisher, which in addition to spinning around, actually orbits. Here, let me turn that on. See how it it vibrates around, it spins around in an orbit as well as spinning around, or it's spinning around this way. So this is like the newer technology. These are great because they're a little bit safer to use. The thing about these old rotary polishers is that if you kind of lingered a little too long along the edges where, you know, the edge of a panel is usually a little bit raised, there's usually a little bit of a lip on the edge of a panel, these would sort of like cut through that. And the great thing about these is that they will actually stop once they get up on a little bit of pressure. Like if they get up on a lip, they'll stop rotating. They'll still be orbiting, but they'll stop rotating. And as long as this thing is not rotating, it's not really doing much cutting. So it's kind of got like a built-in safety feature. So I've been playing around with this thing and, you know, with the discs, with the foam discs that it came with, and it's definitely nowhere near as powerful as this thing is. It takes a lot longer to actually cut through with that. But you know, I like it, and especially for fine finishing. It's actually really nice for fine finishing. This pad that I've got on here is a Griot's Garage heavy cutting pad, which I really like. This tool works a lot better with this particular pad. I just got this today and I've been playing around with it. What I've been using are the pads that came with this thing all along. You know, you've got just different foam pads. The foam is just, you know, it's got, you know, the finer cells in the foam, the finer the pad, you know, the smaller the scratches it's going to produce, I suppose. So, you know, if you want to do some heavy cutting with a heavy cutting compound, you start with the coarsest pad you got, then you move up from there. Okay, so compounds. I've just been working with the Meguiar's. Now I started off, this is the 105 Ultra Cut compound. I hate this compound. It really, really sucks. It's kind of wet, so when you first go to use it, it splatters everywhere, but then it dries instantly and it starts to produce like a really, you know, powder that splatters everywhere as well. It's really, I mean, it's not good at all. It cuts very well, don't get me wrong, but I really hate it. So I got in, I just bought the 100. This is Pro Speed compound. I like this one so much better. This is like a really thick paste. It does not dry up at all. It's got a really long working time. It cuts just the same. So this is the stuff that I would go for. And I've been using this and it really works well. Another thing that's good is the 205 compound. Now, just to tell you, there are basically two classes of compound. Cutting compound, which is what you start with, and then your final polishing compound. That's what you finish with. The basic difference, I mean, think of these compounds, any kind of polish, as liquid sandpaper. I don't know exactly what grits these are, but they're really, really fine grits, okay? So this would be like a coarser grit than this would be. And so that's why you want to start with your cutting compound. That kind of cuts all your scratches. It's also called the leveling compound because it's just sanding down the paint really, or it's sanding down the clear coat really, really finely. And then, you know, it's going to leave finish, you know, some tiny scratches depending on the pad that you use. That's why you want to come in with your final polishing compound with a very, very fine pad and just kind of finish up with that. That takes all like the swirl marks out and just the little scratches that are really going to show up in the sun. And that's really it. That's as complicated as it gets. You want to use some microfiber towels to kind of wipe your compound off in between coats just to kind of check how far you've gotten and stuff. But, you know, other than that, you just kind of got to polish. Well, actually, before you polish, let me show you what you should do. Before you polish, what you want to do is obviously wash your car. I hope that goes without saying. You need to get it wet and then, you know, hit it with a sponge with some car wash soap or whatever, some kind of rag. Just agitate all the dirt and then wash that all off. And that's where you want to start. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to clay your car. This is a clay kit. All it is just this little bar of clay. That's kind of like silly putty, I suppose. It comes with a little bit of a lubricant. If you run out of this, you can just use water. What this does is when you wipe it on your car, it actually picks up all the contaminants that are on the car. So I actually did this area already. I want you to listen. When I kind of rub my hand over here, you can't really hear anything, but here, it sounds like sandpaper. And then over here, you can't really hear anything. I mean, you can still hear a little something because that's my hand rubbing over something, but all the surface dirt and particles that are just kind of embedded in the paint over here, those are kind of gone because I did this area right here. Now to do it, it's actually pretty easy. You just want to open up the clay and just kind of spread it out a little bit. And as you're using it, it's going to pick up dirt. It's going to get a little dirty. So to kind of renew it, you just fold it over and then just kind of twist it and pull it out again. And you just kind of expose a new surface from the inside. All you do is just wet it down and then rub it. Rub it on the surface. And you'll even hear it. You'll feel the clay start to get really slippery on there. When you first start, it's kind of really rough. And then when you go to a new area, you can feel it. You can feel that roughness over there. And then it just kind of gets really easy because you've picked up all the dirt off of the paint. And then that's it. Then you just kind of wipe it off and you're kind of all done. Then you're ready to polish. So I'm going to demonstrate on this hood just because it's kind of the easiest thing for me to shoot. Ultimately, I'm going to have to paint this hood because whoever owned this car before me rubbed through the paint right here when they were trying to polish. And you can see, you know, all these scratches. There's just, I think they tried to hand polish. I don't know if they tried to hand polish or what, but they rubbed through the paint right there. So, you know, it needs to be painted ultimately, but it's going to make a great demonstration. There are a couple of things that I'm kind of curious about. One is this sort of faded area right here. I don't know ultimately if this is going to polish out or if this is damage to the underlying paint. It's just something, kind of one of those things I don't know until I try, you know? So we're going to try to do that. A lot of these stone chips are not going to come out. They're still going to be there. It's going to be pretty impossible to kind of get these stone chips out. This scratch right here, I don't know if that's going to come out. I don't think that's going to come out with just polishing, but scratches like this, these are going to come out. Those are going to be just fine. But anyway, you know, it's going to be interesting. I'll just show you some of the techniques and then you'll get it. So since I've been polishing before, I actually want to clean off my pad before I start. I'm going to use some compressed air to do that. That's kind of really important. Oh, this thing is really leaking. You just kind of get the thing going. And just spray it out like that. So we're going to use the Pro Speed compound. What you want to do, especially when it's a new pad, you want to prime the pad. So you're just going to spread some compound on the pad. You just want to cover the whole thing. This is better than just putting the compound on the car, because this way, you know, the whole pad is just covered. It's all good. So we'll do that. Now, I'm gonna start with this area over here because this is gonna be like the most magical kind of transformation. So let me get you kind of zoomed in on this area. Okay, so just gonna turn this thing on. I'm gonna set it at about 4. And you just wanna keep it moving. Again, as long as the pad is spinning, it's doing its job. If it stops, which it's actually really hard for it to stop with this particular cutting pad, then it's not actually doing anything. But this one is, it's actually gonna keep going. You want to stop the machine while it's still on the car. Don't pick it up first or it's going to fling some stuff at you, depending on the compound you're using. So those are actually some heavy, heavy scratches, and we need to keep going. You know what, guys? I'm seeing something weird on here. Oh no, okay, that was just the compound. I was seeing this line right here. I thought for a second that whatever damage they did before, that they actually like rubbed through all the clear coat and I was just getting through the very last of it. That was just the compound. Just drying in a strange way. So as you can see, that looks much, much, much better than it was a second ago. This is not the end of it. I definitely need to hit this with a final, or would need to hit this with a final polishing compound, because I can see when you kind of hit the light in a, at the proper angle, I can still see very fine scratches in here. So that's why you would need the polishing compound in the end. But that's basically just the procedure. You just hit the thing with the buffer or the polisher, and you just kind of keep going back and forth like that. Don't stop in any one spot and kind of dig in. You just kind of keep on moving and keep on moving. So let me demonstrate what the other rotary polisher looks like. So these overhead lights are not doing me any favors here. So I'm going to use the red pad. This is the coarse cutting pad on the rotary here. And I just want to hit this area, the part where it's sort of oxidized. I just want to see what happens with it. Okay, this might be too much. Let's just see where we are with that. Oh, that dries up super quick. Hold on, I got to get something on that. I think that's water. So on the rotary, that dries much quicker, at least with that particular pad. So we can still see some fadedness there. I don't know. I mean, we could keep going and keep going and keep going, and maybe we would cut through all that oxidation eventually. I mean, we might as well. We're going to paint the thing anyway, so what do we got to lose, you know? All right, just curious. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, I think it's a little better if I turn those overhead lights off. Camera can pick that up a little bit better now. It's, you can still see the faded area here, but it's definitely coming up. So I'm just gonna keep on working on it, see what happens. I can definitely still see it, but it's getting much, much better. But you can also see the damage that we're not taking out by polishing. Hopefully, I don't know if you can see that. We've got some spots here, here, and here. So those are areas that are, not coming out. But again, I think if we keep going, and again, I don't really have enough experience fixing damage like this to kind of know how deep this goes. I really don't. First time I've ever kind of fixed damage like this. So this is kind of an adventure for both of us. It might come out all the way. It might not. I really don't know. But let's keep going. progress. I can still see it, but it's way smaller than it was. I think you guys can still kind of see it. It's just about contained to here. It was much bigger before. So definitely we could keep going and just get that area cleaned. Still kind of there, tiny bit. Let's try to finish it off. There's no real reason that I'm switching to this other pad other than, or this other machine even, other than that I want to. Actually, let's put this pad on the other machine. Just kind of see what happens. I haven't used this pad on this machine yet. We need more compound. So the thing about this pad is it's really, really thin, and it's actually kind of, on this particular machine, it's kind of hard to keep it really flat. I kind of like using the other machine better just because it's just a little more usable. So I'm going to switch back to that. Probably this pad could use like a soft interface in between it and the machine, at least if you're using a rotary. They actually make like those, they're actually like yellow foam, the part that you kind of hook the pad onto. It's like thick yellow foam. I don't have one of those. I'm just using what I got here. But that would probably be the best way to go, at least when you're using this pad. But with this machine, I don't really need it. Really, really happy with this compound, this Pro Speed compound. It's got a super long working time. That other stuff, the 105, would have been done in like a minute. Not even a minute, 30 seconds, and then you're done. Man, we are so close. Can we even see the fadedness anymore? I don't really think so. I can still, I don't know if the camera can pick it up, I can still see it just a tiny bit. So it's like we're almost finished. But that definitely worked, guys. All I gotta do is just keep going, probably another minute or two, and that's out of there. I'm excited. Are you excited? That pretty much worked. Well, guys, I think I'm gonna call that done, finished, success. Again, if I'm being absolutely super honest, I can see a very faint area where it still is, but you have to look really close, really close. I suppose I could keep on going if I was really anal about it, but I think you get the point. I think you understand. All you gotta do is give it a try. You can clean up quite a bit of damage. So I want to show you some things that are going to be much easier to get out. You see this scuff mark right here, this scuff mark here and here. These are going to be real easy to get out. So there we go. We got those scuff marks out. Ultimately, I would say that I'm glad to have the rotary polisher. The random orbital, it just takes forever when you're dealing with anything other than minor scuffs. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so this is as far as I'm gonna take it. It's obviously not perfect. I think it's way better than it was before. Obviously you can see all the areas, all the things that are not, gonna be taken out by just that initial polishing step. Remember, I did say that, this was not gonna be perfect, and this was, this is gonna highlight all of the problems that needed more work and stuff. Again, I'm gonna paint this hood because of that little area up on the side there, but this is just kind of showing you, this was just showing you the techniques involved and, just kind of what can be done. It's a lot better on the sides. I kind of finished polishing the rest of the car. I did the sides. I didn't do the sides, the door over here and stuff. Let me pull this thing out. I don't have much sun left in the day, but I'll kind of show you what it looks like. Well, I think that's enough yapping for me. It came out pretty good. I'm actually happy with it at this point. Still a lot of work left to do. We definitely need to take care of those, you know, the writing on the rear, on the left side fender, and I got to do the roof. That's the big thing. And then of course another video on, you know, removing the old fender and the door and installing the new ones. So a couple videos left to go just on the exterior and stuff, and then another interior video on the A, B, and C pillars, just recovering those. Bunch of videos left to go. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this one, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more. I'm the 50s Kid. Thanks a lot for watching.